And if you're just tuning in, you're joining us well in time for us to take you through the front pages of the newspapers around the continent or around the country. Let's share with you what the front pages of the papers are saying. We start with the Daily Trust newspaper. Kaduna Tribunal upholds Uba Sani's election on technical ground. So everybody has their own interpretation of what exactly the court says.
Yeah, so this is I feel, from the information that we've, gathered, might be what exactly happened. And like I said, it's a technicality based on the time frame with which the PDP should have filed, that appeal. But, like I said before, I'm not, a legal practitioner, so I may not know the exact terms to use. But there's a time frame that elapsed, that may have led to, to Uba Sani being, of course, upheld as the winner. So I think what they've done is we've listened to your case on merit. This would have been the judgment, if you had stuck with the time frame.
Yeah. We
would have been able to declare it inconclusive or a rerun.
Yeah.
But because you didn't, work with that time frame, then, Uba Sani, of course, stays. That's what it sounds
like. But look at the riders there. It says election inconclusive.
It's inconclusive. So yes, that's what it is. Yeah. But it's not enough to get, to take Uba Sani off the seat. Yes.
All right. It says further will appeal according to Ashiru. It affirms the mandate it affirms the mandate given to me by Governor Sani. How banditry raises food price in Zamfara. That's an important, when we think about banditry, I don't think we've ever thought, I don't know, I haven't personally, I think about it from the insecurity, the safety of lives, the bad reputation that it's given the country, including, our security index, right? Global security ratings or even corruption index. But I've never really thought about it increasing food prices because they're kidnapping people. Sometimes they're asking for ransom in form of food. And when insecurity really just affects everything else. People who are going to the farm at their own risk. So if they're doing that, there's going to be a premium on the products that they're going to be selling. I mean, that's really sad. You cannot deliver Tinubu in 2027. Kwankwaso slams Ganduje. I've not even finished 2023. We're already talking 2027. Calm down. Autopsy shows late Halima's eye not harvested, according to Gombe Hospital. UN slams finance for barring its Olympic athletes from wearing hijab. This is another conversation. It's a very sensitive one. Coups. Africa needs to rejig its democracy, according to Jonathan. Federal government steps into Osimhen's Napoli adversity. What is federal government doing about it? Do you have an update yet?
No, something should have, but I don't think they really have, any business.
Because they say they are stepping in. I don't know what they're stepping in.
Yeah, they probably just made a statement, but they have no business with the whole, crisis. It's not a crisis, some people just need to be fired.
Yeah.
It's not a misunderstanding either. I feel like, whoever is in charge of Napoli's TikTok
account,
went, above and beyond what was expected of him. Apparently needs to be fired. And of course, maybe there should be, an apology from Napoli as a football club. Would they apologize or not? I don't know. There's those people who have said that no matter how long you play in Italy as a black man, and no matter how much you deliver, upon your mandate as a footballer and a striker, that you never escape the racism aspect of it. So there's, many of these little angles here and there that, are being, put together. But I don't think the federal government has any business with the whole situation.
Okay.
Luckily, he scored in his last game, so.
And he didn't celebrate his scoring.
Yeah.
Final story on the Daily Trust newspaper. NEC begs Labour to shelve planned strike dialogue at a state level. These are the stories on the Daily Trust. Let's head over to the next paper.
All right, let's go to the Daily Independent this morning. It says there's subsidy removal crisis. NLC, TUC begin mobilization for October 3rd indefinite strike. There's still, of course, the call for a strike by the NLC and the TUC, and we'll see how things turn out, in the next couple of days, actually just a couple of days away. Nupeng puts branches on red alerts to ground economy, and also CSOs vow to enforce sit-at-home when the strike kicks off. That's interesting. Strike beyond Lalong, Ministry of Labour to resolve, says the NLC. Just to also mention, a lot of Nigerians do not, have a lot of faith in the NLC and its ability to achieve much, for them. Same thing, with New Peng. I mean, I remember that we had that conversation, sometime this week. So we'll see how things turn out. Joe Ajero and Felix Osifo have had their credibilities questioned in the last long while since they've been, of course, heading these groups. But we'll see. Increase workers' salaries to allay hardship, Reps Speaker tells federal government. And also Nigerian military can't tackle insurgency alone, says the defense headquarters. As troops kill 191 terrorists, arrest 184, and rescue 91 victims. When you hear of numbers like this, it makes you really wonder, that if 191 people, let's randomly say 190 people were killed by Nigerian security forces, how many terrorists do we really have in Nigeria? How many of these people really exist? Because them killing 190 people is not, saying that that's the end. Are you saying that in northern Nigeria and in any other parts of the north where, these bandits and these terrorists, are mostly, situated, that there's thousands and thousands of them, that you can kill I need people to understand what 190 people are. So you can kill 190 people and it's not over. Wow. Anyway, still on the Daily Independent, APM files 10 ground appeal, asks Supreme Court to nullify Tinubu's victory. Obaseki accepts Shaibu's apology, says the heir is human, to forgive is divine.
But is he accepting this apology without asking him to withdraw his request or his intention, to numb his intention to run for governorship?
I'm sure that's all right. They would have had, closed-door meetings, and people would have stepped in to appease both sides. So we'll see. Tinubu's reforms stumble, threaten Nigeria's economy, say analysts. And also, Umahi's sanction triggers protests at Works Ministry. I saw that yesterday. Very interesting.
Very embarrassing.
Kogi APC governorship ticket. Ododo flaws at Shimugu at Supreme Court. And Kaduna Tribunal declares gubernatorial election inconclusive. Others rerun. That's the story that most media houses are running with. But let's move away from the Daily Independent, go to the Nation newspapers this morning.
All right, on the front page of the Nation newspaper, sit tight leadership breed coups in Africa, says Dawn at Jonathan Lecture. Government to TUC NLC respect court order barring strike. AGF rights unions, Falano, DSS, IG, NSA. It's judicial terrorism, breach of rights, says Labour. Financial reforms ready for unveiling, says Cardozo. How Southeast can overcome insecurity by governors, leaders. Unity economic growth critical. I believe that's in reference to Southeast Summit. Independence. Why Nigerians should collaborate with federal government by Shatima. At the top of the paper we have Tribunal dismisses PDP's petition in Kaduna poll. Governor says, my election upheld. Ashiru to appeal. Obaseki, I forgave Shaibu's aberrant behavior. Governor cautions deputy. I think these are the stories. And there's a final one, all for 63rd Independence Anniversary. I think there was an event that was held in celebration of that. And that's all that we can take. I'm hoping that, we can, at some point, have a conversation about what's happened with Dave Umahi and the protests and the strikes by his staff. I found that video very embarrassing. I'm hoping that before the end of the show, we can talk about it. When Nigerians are criticizing the government, they must realize that the people, the leadership are a function of the kind of people that we are. So when we start condoning bad behavior, and thinking it's normal, anyway,